One. Hello, everyone. I'm here with
Yeah.
Steve. Uh, and for some of the new people, I'll put his name in the info. We're gonna review Captain America. Fuck yeah.
Yes. Well, you
Um,
said America.
yes, the first Avenger. For those of you who, for some reason, did not get the title Captain America. And there's just before we go on, spoilers. There will be spoilers. It's been a week now, so we're in okay
Wait,
weeks.
do you want to separate into spoiler and non-spoiler, or do you want to just do the entire thing as spoilers?
Um, entire thing spoilers.
Okay then.
I
So,
I'll put spoiler warning. The movie's already been out for like a week, so I don't think
but
it'll.
it beat Harry Potter. So if you didn't see Harry Potter, you had to have seen this.
Yes, odds are you all went to Harry Potter again, so who cares? How about you start out? What did you think of the movie?
Uh, let's see. I'm going to quote that song, America, fuck yeah, except I'm going to add the word Captain America because this movie was fucking awesome.
Captain America, fuck yeah!
Oh my god, were you insanely happy after watching the movie for no reason? You just walk out of the theater and you have a
Yeah,
smile on your
that
face?
made me. Well, actually, I wasn't insanely happy because there's that line at the end that I found very sad about
Oh
him
yeah.
about him missing the dance.
I know, that was kind of sad. Like, I'm thinking like for a date. Aww.
I'm like,
Other than
wow.
that,
Not to mention that whole. We're gonna read spoilers. That whole ending was like, did he pick up in an episode of The Twilight Zone? It had that Twilight Zone vibe.
yeah, but it actually kind of makes sense because you saw him go down, and if you watch the Avenger movie, it would all kind of make sense even if you don't read comics.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it makes sense, but like, I couldn't shake the feeling like this would totally work as a Twilight Zone opening. No, it's just me being silly, but yeah. Oh, one thing I want to kind of comment on because I saw your Twitter, and I think King wants to hear this from you. How is this movie better than The Dark Knight? Because he, of course, will never believe that statement.
Okay. I'm gonna make a top 10 comic book movies of all time when I come back, and The Dark Knight isn't on there. You know why? Not
Why?
because of the movie. The Dark Knight's an amazing movie. It's brilliant and all that crap, but it's not a comic book or a superhero movie. It's a movie about justice. It's a movie about good and evil. It's a movie about characters, but it's not a comic book movie. Because Batman has Ra's al Ghul who comes back from the dead every other week. You have him fighting demons. He goes to space. He hangs out with aliens on a daily basis. Dark Knight is way too realistic to be a comic book or superhero movie.
It just happens to have it sprinkled in. That I will actually agree with you on that statement. This felt like a comic book.
Exactly.
That's what these movies have been doing really well, like especially the last couple Marvel movies that the Marvel Studios have been putting out. These have felt like comic books come to life more than a movie that has heavy comic book tones. Like Iron Man, a lot of the time, I don't know. To me, it couldn't shake off the feeling like the comic book elements are there and it's working, but it still feels more like a movie first than a comic. Captain America.
Iron Man 2 felt more pretentious than the first one.
Like Iron Man 2 is really diving in and like basically doing a comic book, but happening to do it in a movie, and that's what these movies have been doing, and they've been doing them good. And this one's no exception. And it, not to mention, it really got like, I always get this. I'm like Pete from Warehouse 13. I get vibes on certain movies, and I can tell when the movie's right when it has that feeling to me. What the setting made it feel like, oh yeah, this is World War II. I could totally get behind this. And I usually never gush about backgrounds or sets or anything like that, but the set design on this movie was amazing. Just like regular New York was beautiful to look at, but like the Hydra bases and a lot of that stuff looked really cool too.
Like even Red Skull's car, I would want that car now.
Yeah. I kept going, and because I'm an Ultra nerd, I noticed that his Red Skull's sidekick was the Dream Lord from Doctor Who. I was the first to notice that, and I gushed every time he was on screen. I'm like, my God, Red Skull just gave the Dream Lord his pimp mobile. And then he drove off. Yeah, me and my brother were joking. How is it that we have the crazy mad, somewhat Nazi character in a giant spaceship, and yet the scientist got the cooler vehicle?
I know, right?
I'm not saying I support the vehicles of the Nazis, but when they look that good,
Seriously.
I give them credit.
Just one complaint before we get into how awesome this movie is. There's a clip that they released, so it's not really a spoiler, but Howard Stark says that Captain America's shield is made out of vibranium, which is fine. But then they explain it and say vibranium absorbs vibrations. Captain America was getting shot at by lasers. Do lasers vibrate?
That
doesn't make any sense.
They might. I mean, like, I'm sure they could create enough force to move something.
Okay, because they never said the shield was indestructible. They said it absorbs vibration. So.
Yeah. That's a good. That comment honestly goes into nitpicking territory.
Yeah, I'm a science nerd like that, but that's the only thing I'm talking about.
You have a point. That's the thing. I'm like, maybe they do. I don't know much about science. Not to mention the use of actual lasers that comes into play and shit like that. So again, comic book physics. They have to work with that a lot.
I like that, don't I?
Yeah. Let's see. Chris Evans was awesome. Let's just get that out of the way before we do anything else. Chris Evans was great. He outshadowed being Johnny Storm in this movie.
Exactly. I didn't even get a single aspect of him being the funny guy in this movie. He was just the perfect Cap.
Yeah. Well, there was kind of that back and forth between him and Bucky, but that's just friends banter. That's just them being friends.
Speaking of Bucky, you ever seen that Captain America cover where it's Winter Soldier holding Cap's shield in his costume and holding out a pistol?
Yes.
There was that 1 second before Bucky dies. For literally half a second, he's holding the shield and gun, and I just said Winter Soldier.
Oh, actually, no. My movie experience was somewhat fun because, again, I went with my brother, but there was this family sitting a few seats from us, and they weren't annoying. They I didn't mind them, but it was like a mom and dad and their daughter, and she could have been like 6 years old, and she actually was sad when Bucky fell down like off the train. And I almost felt compelled to go to her and say, "He comes back, I swear. He'll be back." Because we know it's coming. They've totally set up Winter Soldier because that actor signed up for another movie, at least.
The director actually asked Marvel to do a Winter Soldier spin-off, so...
Or at least have him in the Captain America sequel, because he's in our time now. This is amazing to us. Like, don't you know he's around here now? Like, he's an actual person. The
dialogue in the movie was awesome. I don't know. There were so many parts where I just laughed out loud. Like when Cap goes to say Bucky after he goes missing, and it's after the Super Soldier thing. So Bucky's first words were like, "Weren't you shorter?"
Yeah, that was funny. Oh, if we're gonna mention awesomely hilarious, Tommy Lee Jones. He stole this movie. All these Marvel movies have a character that steals the show.
They had that girl with the robot arm from Iron Man.
Happy Hogan from Iron Man 2.
Yes.
Was there one in Hulk? I don't think there was.
That scientist guy. Him.
Yeah, he was pretty entertaining. I don't know. I own that movie. I need to watch that movie. But yeah, he was awesome. Especially that line at the end where they're in the car driving up to the plane.
He's like, I'm not gonna...
Peggy kisses him. He's like, "I'm not kissing you."
There's another line, because throughout this entire movie, all the Hydra guys say, "We're a Hydra. You cut off one head, 2 more go back." Then Tommy Lee Jones just shoots the guy and says, "Let's go find 2 more."
Yeah, like, he was awesome in this movie. Like, this was the role he should play in every movie. He should be like this in Men in Black 3.
He shouldn't have even gotten the name. He should have just been Tommy Lee Jones as Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones is Colonel Tommy Lee Jones. That comes off cool, Colonel Tommy Lee Jones.
What did you think of that song, Star Spangled Man?
Oh, I think I was the only one in my theater laughing out loud at that whole USO show.
So was I. Oh my god, that was so funny.
At least I was the one laughing out loud. I'm sure everyone else found it funny. I found it freaking hilarious. Especially
I was singing the song to myself later.
Well, I'm like, I need to learn that song. But actually, and not to mention that line that comes up later where they're like, "Are you sure you can do this?" "Yeah, I've punched Hitler over 400 times.
I know, I love how they incorporated the whole punching Hitler thing. That was actually pretty cool.
I also love the fact that shield actually worked until Red Skull broke it. I'm like, is that shield actually designed to be used as a weapon? Because I was convinced it was like a really thin aluminum for a while, but then I saw him beating the hell out of people with it when he was getting the Howling... I'm sorry, the people who are not named the Howling Commandos. Seriously, just say the name once. I know that's a nitpick too, but I'm like, come on. I know they're there, but I want everyone else to know they're there.
One thing I get that's really annoying about Marvel is when they characters, like when they have the Ultimate Universe or movies, they tend to not to go with silly names. So like even in Ultimate Spider-Man, you never hear anyone call someone like Moon Knight or Black Widow. You just call them like the Moon Guy or something like that.
Yeah, I'm like I know that's a nitpick, but that's one thing it's the nitpicks of all nitpicks, and it's not really important in the grand scheme of things, but just say the name, or at least drop it. Like they're like commandos that howl or some shit like that. Do something like that at least. That pisses me off. But they were cool. I know. Sorry, I'm kind of getting weird, but they were cool in that movie as well. Everyone's cool in this movie.
Yes, it was pretty awesome. I knew there was something else I wanted to say. Hugo Weaving as a Red Skull.
Fucking perfect. He was. I found him more threatening before he took the mask off. I don't know why.
He was Hugo Weaving. It was just good.
Yeah, he like again, all villains should just be played by Hugo Weaving. He does them amazingly. He could play Lord Zed.
Yes, he could.
Wouldn't that be awesome? He could do, and not to mention, he could do that trick where he removes the mask with his whole body. Just remove off like gloves and feet.
Imagine the director of Punisher Warzone with Hugo Weaving in the Power Rangers movie.
I would fucking see that. We need that, but no matter what, we need to have Jason David Frank back as Tommy. We can't. He could probably kill someone now with his own bare hands anyway, because he's fucking huge. But yeah, again, we're going on tangents. The action in this was pretty good. I didn't feel lost in the story at all.
Montage, like all the fight scenes you see in the trailer are really just montage fights.
True, but I'm a sucker for montages.
So am I. So that might have disappointed some people, but I really liked it.
I'm like, or it at least works. Like it gives you this idea that they're really, like, it's not just one fight they're doing. Like they've been kind of dedicated to taking them down and doing as many. Like it gives the idea that they've been doing this more than like 2 times. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you feel like they're there doing something.
I know they're never going to use this, but since they have the whole montage thing, they can actually make comic books or video games or TV shows based off of those montage fights. Because they've been doing it for a while.
They could. And Marvel's...
Like, that's what take place in one of the montages.
Not to mention, Marvel's not above whoring out comics. For all we know, they thought of that, or they're hearing us right now and doing that. They're not going to get a good... They're not going to even get a good writer either. They're going to get some guy we'll never hear from again. Who's just...
What did you think of Howard Stark?
I liked him. He did seem like Tony Stark, but old-timey.
Yeah.
From that era. Like, oh yeah, he embodied that character. Not to mention, the ongoing joke is apparently we can't have the same guy play Howard Stark.
Yeah.
They've had 3 people play him now.
He's only in 3 movies.
Yeah, like, and not to mention, I wasn't sure how big of a role he'd play. Like, I was just like, thank you, Howard Stark. You got your paycheck. Thanks for the weaponry. Get the hell out of here. He actually played a part.
Yeah, and they gave him the thing where he was a pretty good pilot, which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and they of course they mentioned stuff about him being a weapons dealer and like, I can't remember. Was there a line about him just making the war worse by giving more guns or some shit like that? I could have sworn there was something like that.
When they're on the plane, I think Steve's talking to Peggy about how he doesn't really like weapons dealers, but then they say, well, he's a good guy and all that.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, and plus, that guy just... Not to mention the fonduing joke.
Yes.
That was hilarious. You see, we just get melted cheese in a pot.
I feel like half the movie they're talking about punch when he doesn't know what it is.
Yes. And also, they did a good job of making Carter an actual strong female character who didn't end up being a damsel in distress and being She was willing to get ran over by a Nazi while shooting at him. You've won.
I love that opening scene where Captain America first gets the serum and he runs too fast, so he just breaks into a window.
Yeah, I'm like, well, he's only had these powers for like 5 minutes. That makes sense.
Just imagine your feet running way too fast for your brain to comprehend.
Oh, there was one thing I thought that was hilarious, and it's after Bucky died, and it is a sad scene, but when he realizes he can't get drunk,
oh yeah,
some guy in my theater yelled out, "No!" And everyone laughed. No, I'm like, damn, that does suck. He can't get drunk.
That was a pretty good scene though, trying to drink.
Yeah, like, is that something that the super soldier does? Like, he can't get drunk? I mean, I've never seen him drunk.
I've never seen him drunk either. I don't think he can get drunk, but that raises questions about other mutant powers of healing and stuff.
Well,
like, I know
Wolverine can get drunk. Can't Wolverine get drunk?
Yeah, but he has some better healing factor than Cap, so shouldn't he not be able to get drunk even better?
I don't know. It still gives that sad. Again, like, that line wasn't meant for comedy per se.
No,
it was meant to actually be, he can't drown his soul now. He has to live with this stuff completely open mind, like, be clear on it. That it was more sad than funny, but that guy made it hilarious. Let's see. The costume looked good on screen. All the costumes looked good on screen.
And,
especially the USO show one. That one was cool.
I love that costume.
I'm like, I'm glad they didn't miss that.
I didn't know what the hell he was doing.
And I love the fact that when he goes into action for the first time, he took one of the Rocket Dancer's helmets.
Yes.
I'm like, that makes sense on why they would have a helmet with an A on it. Yeah,
and Stan Lee's cameo as a general thing, I thought he'd be taller.
Yeah, they've mastered his cameos.
I know, he's been so funny lately.
Yeah, he's been amazing. I don't know. Does this top the one from Thor? Because that one was just as short, but they're both hilarious. I'm like, really? Stan Lee a general?
I guess I like this one better because there's a behind the scenes thing where the director's saying how difficult Stan Lee is to work with him. They keep changing the line for like 3 days.
Oh,
apparently,
I hear he's fun. Like, I remember seeing something like on Fantastic Four. They all loved hanging out with him for that scene.
Wait, does this top him as Hugh Hefner in that Iron Man movie?
I don't know. That was pretty funny too.
That was.
The Marvel Studio ones have been really hilarious because the ones that aren't Marvel Studio ones, they haven't been funny. On Spider-Man 3, he was actually there to be he gave a speech. They gave him lines of dialogue. He didn't even have a cameo in First Class, did he?
Did he?
I didn't see him.
We have to look that up. I don't
think he was. So
I don't know.
Because let's face it, you'd notice if he was there.
Oh no, he didn't have a cameo in X-Men. Oh wait, hang on a second. It says Lee has cameoed in every Marvel film, the exception of Howard. Yeah, he didn't have one.
Yeah, okay. I know that's kind of up in a Captain America review, but I'm like that's conspiracy. But getting back to the movie, there's nothing like big I can complain about. I can't think of anything that really seemed bad or annoying.
No.
I don't know. Like, for a while, I was arguing if Bucky got enough screen time, and I'm like, nah, I think it worked for him. I don't know. Like, I don't know if giving him more would have made him, getting lost at the end worse. Probably would have if we got to know him more. Because let's see. I'm trying to think. How much more screen did the Howling Commandos technically have more screen time than him?
No, Bucky had way more screen time than the Commandos.
Well, let's just say like Dum Dum Dugan, because of course he's. By the way, I love the fact that he grew that mustache out and had the hat.
Yes, that was awesome.
I'm like, this totally redeems Legend of Chung-Li, because he was Bison in that fucking movie. But, however, he was Green Arrow in that animated short.
Yes, he was. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Oh, and you remember Aaron Zola in the movie, right?
Yeah.
That one... Hang on a second.
Do, he's answering the phone. Do, I might edit this part out. No. Or not, that was funny.
Yes, it was. He has a really short scene where you just see his face on a green screen, and I just kept thinking, yes, that's exactly like the comics.
Yeah. Because, yeah, that's the thing I didn't realize until I looked it up. I'm like, I can't remember who Aaron Zoloff was while watching the movie. I'm like, I know he's a kid. And then I realized, oh, yeah, he's the guy with the screen stomach who comes off as awesome. But again, I couldn't think of that because I just kept thinking, he's the Dream Lord. They're in a crazy nightmare.
But that guy was pretty awesome in the movie.
Yeah, again, everyone was awesome in this movie.
Yeah, everyone was completely well cast, and I can't really think of any problem except that minor S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, but that's really about it.
I love how they had other S.H.I.E.L.D. ideas. I'm like, these all look like things Cable would use.
Those all look like things for him to lift.
Yeah, I'm like, these look like they belong on cars.
Exactly.
On tanks. Like, I mean, granted, yeah, he has higher strength than an average human, but
imagine trying to throw one of those things.
Yeah. Oh, also, one thing I want to bring up, because I haven't really said this on comic news or anything. Skinny Steve Rogers did not bother me one bit in the movie. Didn't even creep me out, because when the trailer started coming out, just because it looked really good, it creeped me out. Because I knew that wasn't really him, and it looked really good. Here, I totally bought it for some. Though his voice was deeper than, I don't know what they could have done, but his voice was too deep for that.
No, I gotta say, because I know people that are that tiny.
Well, don't get me wrong, like, I know people who are like that too, but it just didn't seem right. If you know what I mean.
I guess I kind of see what you mean, but I still think it was pretty good.
I don't know, maybe they could have had him give some sort of a flexion in his voice to make him sound a little wimpy or something. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying I hated it or anything. Like, I'm like, yeah, I know people who still have a normal voice who just happen to be a different body type than what people think their voices match. But yeah, that was again, that's a nitpick. There's nothing major to complain about in this movie. It was fun. I left with a smile on my face.
Yeah, so did I. That was
similar to that giant smile I had getting out of Green Lantern, because I really enjoyed myself and had fun watching this movie.
Well, I had way more fun watching this than Green Lantern, but
I had a lot more. Granted, this movie was better. It didn't have a lot of story problems, and it didn't rely on cliches. Blake Lively, and the main female character could act.
The most that Peggy and Steve ever did in this movie, even close to a big on-screen kiss with that tiny peck they had before he went to go off and fight.
So but again, that was outshadowed by Tommy Lee Jones' awesome one-liner.
Exactly. It really wasn't one of those annoying cliche romances in movies.
Yeah, for a while, me and my brother were theorizing they were going to rip off the ending from Casablanca. I gotta go fight this crazy superpowered Nazi. There's no room in us in this world. I was expecting that. Oh, but because on this recording we have a little bit more time. I liked. We mentioned it before. I did like the ending because I was wondering how they were gonna how was he gonna get to modern time in this series of films? Is it gonna happen in this movie, or is he gonna be unfrozen in Avengers? And we find out what happens, of course. Because another big spoiler. The first thing we see is them finding that ship in the ice.
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, they found him already. Now we're just doing the flashback. And again, we have that cool, oh, it's only been a few years. Wait a minute, I was there at that game. Which, by the way, I realized this. I'm like, wait a minute, if this was supposed to be years later, and that was a recording of a baseball game from years ago, from where you're standing, you're pretending, why are they playing 7-year-old baseball game at the whatever?
Well, they didn't know. all Steve says that he was there at the game. They never said how specific it was, and since they can't actually.
But they said it was years later, and he's like, if he was there, then this is a recording. They don't put up recordings of baseball games on the radio.
Yeah, I guess I see what you mean there. It doesn't make complete sense, because he wouldn't be Captain America when that happened.
Yeah, I'm like, but he was there, like, because the whole thing is him realizing, yeah, he was at the game, but that just puts more ideas into the flaw of why would they be playing a rerun of a baseball game unless it's one of those weird classic stage. I don't know. That's a stupid nitpick, granted, but yeah. And then he runs out, and they basically all of their
No, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I let it go, but that thought came to me. But when he runs out into Times Square, my first thought was, wow, they got all of their product placement in one shot.
I know, right? The Disney store and everything.
And then
they actually spoiled the ending of this movie in a trailer, and they also spoiled the beginning of this movie in a trailer.
Not to mention, no one's amazed that Sam Jackson was there, because if you go to IMDb, they label him as like on IMDb they label his name third because he's Samuel L. fucking Jackson. But like it's not like his name comes up in the credits like first thing or at that. Oh, his name probably did come up at the credits where they tell you the actors and the writers like with the graphics. How can you not find Uncle Sam coming right at you cool? And that really awesome PowerPoint montage. But
So I actually thought that Stan Lee's cameo would be Uncle Sam.
I was thinking they might have done that because I know people for some reason websites are dedicated to figuring out his next cameo. Like, what's he gonna be in the cameo? I'm like, no, just let it come naturally. It'll be hilarious. But I think you and me got our thoughts out on this one.
Wait, one last thing. What did you think of the costume? Because I know a whole bunch of people that thought it was shitty as hell and don't ever want to see it again.
Oh, I really liked the costume in here. Why didn't they make it was shit?
I don't know. I guess someone just thought that it was way too patchy. But I mean, it's World War II. Of course it looked patchy.
Yeah. It looked really like a uniform they'd used then.
And someone actually missed the wings sticking out of his ears. Really? You missed the wings?
You missed that.
I missed that before I saw it.
When you saw it, I was wondering, are they going to use this costume in the Avengers movie? Which they're not. They've shown the new costume looks good. The new costume looks good. It looks, however, if you only look at it for like 2 seconds, you keep thinking, for a moment I thought, they're using the same costume. Like, oh no, that's completely different. There's no like suspenders. But
before we turn this off, did you stay for the Avengers trailer at the very end?
Of course. More than half of the people in my theater actually did, which I find strange.
The only person in the theater is me and a really, really old guy sitting in the front row.
The only person who didn't want to stay there was my brother. He hates sitting around and doing nothing. Like, he needs to do something. So while the non-important people, like Jim Brewer, got you some coffee or some shit like that, like they just named like. He's like, I don't care if this guy was in charge of bungee cords. I just want to see what we're waiting for. That was awesome. I'm thinking of doing a first thoughts video on that. I've covered on Comic News too, but I probably will do my own video. It looks out of that because again, that's only like from footage they've been shooting for not even 2 months really. They've just started shooting recently. Yeah, but it looks like it'll be fun. Like, I don't know how, but they managed to get me really pumped. Because it's not like, there's not a lot of...
Yes, I was super when I saw it.
There was that line that Tony gave at the end, hey, nice swinging arm.
Exactly. I don't know what it is, but when I saw two heroes standing next to each other and talking like, yeah, it's the perfect movie. Best movie ever.
That's probably why, because this has been hyped up for so damn long that knowing that it's coming, you can't believe it.
I know.
You're waiting for them to finally say, no, we're done, we're not doing it. We filmed it and got it all edited, but no, you're never going to see it.
It's amazing to see that 1 year away still can make you excited from one line of dialogue from two people in the same room.
Yeah, not even that, they're just staring at each other. Well, I better end the recording here because we got a minute left.
Alright.
Again, we both recommend this movie, obviously, if anyone didn't get that.
No, this movie was horrible. Don't ever waste your money on this.
Go see the movie with Rev Proud from the 70s.
Go see Crazy Stupid Love.
Actually, I've been told that movie's been good. Anyway, goodbye.